Good afternoon. I'm Rick Dancer, Marianne Strigler, say it right? Stigler. Julie, and you're going to have to say your last name.
Julie Novatsky.
So, Julie Novatsky.
Yes.
We've known each other a long time. You guys, this is The Buck Stops Here. The reason we call this show The Buck Stops Here is because we can't blame other people. We can't look for government grants. We can't look for other things like that. We have to take some things on ourselves. Hi, Lindsay. Welcome. Lindsay, I promise you're going to love this show because I know you and I know your heart. So this is the Elrod Center, and I am not ignoring you, but I am over here on my other page sharing this around so that other people can see it as well. You guys maybe, you maybe remember this. Perfect. Share to a group.
Technology.
That's what I want.
There we go.
You guys may remember right after we had an incident at Willamette High School where a young woman, Chloe, had taken her life. We ended up over at the Elrod Center, but it wasn't even a center at that point.
Yeah.
It was conversation, and now it's actually a center. It is a place. Yeah. It's real.
We have walls and everything.
they have everything they need.
We have lots of walls, actually.
They have lots of stuff going on here. And hold on, I am still sharing. I guess I could do that.
Hello, Elrod family.
Yes.
We also are going live on our page, so we're going to
hi.
here.
Hello, everybody.
So you guys, what we want to talk about a little bit here is the reason we do a show. Buck Sanitary Service sponsors a show, and I'm behind, so that's why we're doing 2 this week. But it's called The Buck Stops Here because it really is about what we can do. And you guys saw an issue.
Yeah.
You're a therapist.
Yes.
You understand that. You love art. Mm-hmm. You put some things together and have come up with a program where you're teaching kids how to deal with their emotions and their behaviors in positive ways.
Yes.
Right.
Explain to people how this works.
Well,
What don't we know? I mean, I think last time we did this, we talked about this issue. I think a lot of people were surprised that, kids basically are looking for the same thing, and we don't understand as a culture, we don't provide them with what they need.
right, and there's a lot of things that we don't know. There's a lot of societal beliefs that are just in fact wrong, like shake it off, right? You shouldn't cry, or emotion is a sign of weakness. You shouldn't be feeling those emotions. Let's distract you as a kid from the emotions. Oh, she's crying. Let's stop her from crying instead of letting them feel it out and self-soothe.
Oh, really?
Those are all false ideas that do not prepare kids to be able to handle emotions when they get older. Right. When they're 2 years old and they're experiencing those feelings of crying and sad. Now I'm talking after 2.
Right.
Before the age of 2, that's attachment based and all that. That's a completely different story.
The big feelings that they have.
After the age of 2,
okay.
If there's disappointment, if there's sadness, if there's anger, if there's any of those hard emotions, they need to feel them. You cannot distract them. You can comfort them through them, but do not distract them, because then they're not actually completing that cycle, and they're not practicing completion of that.
So we have a whole generation of children who don't know how to handle, don't even know if you ask them what emotion you're having, they really don't know.
No, they don't know. And another thing that our society doesn't understand is that our emotions actually live in our body. We believe that our body is just something our head is walking around on. That's actually not true. Our emotions live in our body. Our head just detects what our body is feeling. And so there is a disconnect in society today between our head and our body. And the kids, the reactions that they're having, those outbursts, are from the body reacting to emotions they have. It's the body expressing.
Well, yeah, and I know from working in a special needs preschool for a year and a half that I had never been involved in, getting these kids to recognize those emotions, we had to put feelings like, oh, it looks like you're sad.
Yep.
And we would have these little images that we would show these kids so they could correlate what an emotion looks like.
So I remember last time we talked, one of the things that fascinated me was we don't tell children that, okay, you're angry. They don't really know what that is. So we don't identify the emotion for kids. So they grow up not really understanding.
Right.
And because we just, you're not angry. You're fine. You're fine.
You're fine.
Right.
You're fine. Get over it. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So how do you do that? You use art, and you use what kind of tools do you use that I would understand? Because I know you do that. You're a therapist and all this, but what are some things people would really understand that you do?
We do, well, there's a number of things that we're doing. We're using art therapy, so we're using expressive art in various forms. So art therapy is incorporating mindfulness techniques. That's teaching the kids to recognize their body, making, that connection between the brain and the body, recognizing any kind of pain sensations, emotions actually expressed physically. So when we have a stomach ache, we might be anxious. When we have pain in our body somewhere, we might be having an emotional response, not a physical problem. And so we're helping them to recognize that and then
understand the difference.
Understand the difference and express it, and then they express it through art. And then we're incorporating art classes of various kinds, dance, drama, theater, all of those, so they can express in music, so they can express in various different ways. And then our therapeutic program is using therapy, but we're using it in a different way. We're going into homes and in schools, working with parents, using psychoeducation. We're working with, we're going to be working with the teachers and with the whole family unit, and not just the kid. And we're educating and just healing the whole unit.
Okay, so here, you guys, the reason this is a Buck Stops Here is because you two saw a problem.
Yep.
You were working with Willamette family, and you're a professional. This is not something you just dreamed up. But you guys came to the realization we can do something about this.
Right.
Why is that so? I mean, you can see it in your face. Why is that so exciting and fun? I mean, because they're really
Well, all of the organizations that are out there are doing the best they can, and they're doing a great job, don't get me wrong. And we want to partner with every single one of them. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. What we're trying to do is fill in the gaps where they exist, and this is one of those gaps, is helping the kids make these connections. We're using psychoeducation. We're doing free classes for adults. Anybody that wants to take them to learn about the kiddo brain, the kiddo body, the development.
Because I've used your stuff in like just talking to people, because teenagers are teenagers because that's how their brain is forming.
Yep.
So they are going to have those frustrations. It's not like just hormones and this and all that. This is actually part of the way it's supposed to happen.
Yeah, it's supposed to.
And so if we don't understand that or how to work with it, we can do a lot of damage to a kid.
Yes.
And that's what you see.
Yes, and the preparation for the cycle that we're seeing in the adolescents today happens with our kids. So what we're trying to do with Elrod Center is we're trying to stop the epidemic that's happening now by stopping the trends with the kids. So that when they're little, they don't grow up to have the same problems, because they're learning how to create those neurotransmitters, learning those emotion vocabulary, learning how to process, learning to connect now. So when they're adolescents and the brain does remodel and they go through the cycle they're supposed to, they're ready for it.
So adolescence, you just said adolescence is really a remodel of the brain.
Correct.
And that's good.
Yeah, it's supposed to.
It's supposed to. But if you don't have, is there a website or something that I can give out?
Yes, elrodcenter.com.
elrodcenter.com.
And we'll post it. Yeah.
Because, you know what,
ELRODcenter.com.
because we have an epidemic with our kids killing themselves.
Yes.
And they are so frustrated. And I guess I have a young man who I woke up this morning and the email was, I'm probably going to take my life. And thank you for being there for me, but it wasn't enough. And I don't know what happened to him, but that was this morning. Yeah. And this person's father committed suicide years ago, and he says, I guess I'm going to go see my dad.
Right.
And there's a setup there.
Yep.
And he never has understood how to deal with his emotions like that.
Right.
And that's, I think, that's where the hole is that you're trying to fill.
That's where the hole is.
And it's a natural hole. I mean, it's a hole we cause, but this isn't unsavable.
It's not. And society has led to the hole, don't get me wrong, but society isn't going to change, and we recognize that. We're not trying to change it. Electronics are here to stay. The society isn't going to change. So what can we do within the society that's here to stay? The 6 programs we came up with is what we came up with of how we can reverse this epidemic now.
Because kids bully each other because it gives them a form of control.
That's one of the reasons.
One of the reasons.
They also bully because they see the parents. What do you think
Right.
when
Yeah, the
people
modeling.
bully one
Yeah.
another on social media as
Right.
adults? What do you think
Right.
the kids see?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's funny that people, not funny, I think it's really sick actually, that people come on here and you see adults on
Right.
Facebook
Right.
acting like total
Right.
horses' asses and bullying people with you don't believe what I be, and then they wonder where our
Right.
kids are
Right.
learning this.
Exactly.
You know what I
It's
mean?
being
Yeah.
modeled.
I'm
Well,
sitting here, yeah.
Yeah, and what we have to realize is we're just not training kids for now. Like, we're training them to be successful and contributors of society. So these are our future leaders. And so if we don't get a hold of their emotional intelligence and social intelligence,
Yeah.
like, watch out, we are going to have a mess, because look at what we're facing already with the adults. So these kids are being modeled this, and that's all they know.
So if you're 17, can you change that?
Yes, absolutely. Our
So
brains
what
never
about
stop developing.
What about the 25-year-old parent?
Same thing. Our brains never stop developing. That's another false thing that society thinks, is that once you hit 25, we're done. That's
it,
not
yeah.
true. Our brains develop for the rest of our lives.
So you can, so people can change.
Absolutely. It's more difficult. I would challenge everybody. I would love for everybody to go on YouTube. There's a video the backward bicycle brain video.
Yeah.
Watch it. It's by Smarter Every Day, and I hope I'm allowed to say that. It's on there
Yeah.
free, so I don't see why I wouldn't be able to.
It's my
But
page. I can do what I want.
I
I do have control. I have control of this page.
It is one of the most amazing examples of how
Yeah.
plastic the kid's brain is, and how well they can come back from trauma and from hard situations, and how our brains can change, and once they do, it's hard to go back.
So I have a friend who didn't grow up in the best of cultures in his home, and but he's managed to really change his life,
Yeah.
and it's a struggle, but I know that but he's doing it.
Yeah.
But then you see so many other people that don't. How I guess just some of us just get, I mean, one day he realized that coming home and just having top ramen, weighing 200 pounds more than I should, none of this is working. And now this guy's trim, he's fit, he's working out,
Right.
he has a whole different life, he's really positive minded. And I look at him and I'm totally blown away, because I'm thinking of all the people I know that don't get there.
Well, I think there's a number of factors involved. I think one of the biggest ones is support. A lot of people don't have support. A lot of people have people telling them they can't do it. And when you have somebody telling you you can't
Right.
do it,
Yeah.
then you're going to believe them. A lot of people have been told they can't do it their whole lives. And that's one of the cycles that we're trying to stop. Another factor is they don't know how. They don't know how to get there. They don't have someone guiding them. It's kind of like if you're going down a bike path and it's been the same bike path you've been on your entire life, and you want to go on a different bike path, but you don't have a path to go on. All you can do is just stop riding. Like you're trying to stop a bad habit, but you don't know where to go. So you're just sitting there in front of this bike path saying, okay, I'm stopped. I'm really trying hard not to go forward. I'm trying really hard not to hit my spouse, or I'm trying really hard not to drink, or I'm trying, right? But I don't have a path to go on. How can that person ever be successful? Because they're just trying not to go forward on the same path.
Right. So Elrod Center is taking people. I'm going to just use every, 'cause I don't think it's just
Yeah.
kids.
No,
You're
it's the
taking
whole
families and you're
family.
saying, okay, you're stuck.
You're stuck.
Now let me give you something to kind of point you in a different direction.
Yeah, let's give you a new path. Let's give you some tools. Let's give you some guidance. Let's give you some support.
So even if you had the crappiest parents and you had grandparents who didn't do anything, if you had all that, you can still do it.
You can always do it.
See, I think that is something people don't hear. I don't think people know. I think we get so, I mean, I think even as me, as a 59-year-old guy, there's things in my life that they're traps, and I have to always find ways to work myself around. But you need other people in your life to kind of help guide you out of that.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like
And
the
that's-
definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, literally, you have to make a different change. You have to go a different direction to get.
And we don't understand the process of our children growing up, what their brains are and aren't supposed to do, so we can't help manage that.
Exactly. And so that's one of the reasons why that we
Right.
put on the free training, so that we can essentially give that information of the latest research of, hey, this is what's going on in your kid.
Right.
When they're throwing this tantrum, you can actually look at them and be like, oh, I know what's going on. I know what to do. I could get down on your level, connect right brain to right brain, sit in the stew, wait for you to calm, bring your left brain into it, and then we go and do your consequence, right?
Right.
Well, it's the empowerment. And I think the greatest thing that I had an example, actually, a mom brought her son to the art therapy class and she thought it was for her son. She received so much from that class by doing that with her son that just emotionally healed stuff in her own mind.
Well, here you are. Come here,
Oh,
you big
yes.
star.
Hi,
You
bye-bye.
guys, you have got to see. Okay, so this is what
Okay.
I've been holding off on just a little bit. But look,
Hi.
this is Caesar, right?
This is Caesar.
Now,
All right.
Caesar, come here.
Come here,
Come
Bubba.
here, bud. Caesar's a German Shepherd,
Caesar, look at the camera.
Can you say
and
hi?
Caesar understands
sit.
that blondes have more fun.
Can you sit, please?
So, what do you
Sit.
do with? Oh wow!
Can you say hi?
Oh my!
Aw, thank you.
So,
Can you
what
say
do
hi?
you do with
Say hi.
him?
So,
Or what does he do for you, for the kids?
so let's come back over here so you
Come
can
here,
see him. So Caesar is in every single art therapy class. He comes up just like he's gonna do with you.
Look at you. Oh, yeah. You know what, buddy? I do need some of your therapy today. I've had kind of a crappy day. And you can do just wonderful things for me. Look at you.
Yes,
Oh my
yes,
God.
yeah.
I'm happy. Yeah. So you use him. He's in the art therapy classes with the kids.
Yeah, he goes into every group, peer support groups too. We do peer support groups for teens, although they're on hold right now because we're going to actually change that model a little bit. But he's in every art therapy class. He actually goes into homes with me. He goes into
So he can sense when somebody's
yeah.
having, what do you call that? I mean, in my vernaculars, when I'm having an issue, he gets it.
Yes. So when he's in a group, he can actually sense when somebody's emotionally dysregulated. That means when they are having a really difficult time emotionally, he'll come up and he'll put his chin on your foot. And, well, mostly with adults. With kids, he'll come up and just start kissing them because the kids love that. But with the adults, he'll put...
So since he kissed me, he thinks
yeah, he thinks you're
he
good.
knows that, he understands that I'm childish.
No, you're not dysregulated. But with somebody who's dysregulated that's an adult...
Yeah.
And what does
it's-
dysregulated mean?
That means if somebody's really upset, if your emotions are out of whack,
He can
You're
tell.
offline.
he can tell. If you're about to go offline, if you're about to have it to where you are not in control of yourself, he can tell. And with adults, it's really tricky because some adults don't like to have you really close when they're really, so he just puts his chin on your foot. With kids though, like I said,
So by him doing that with a kid, that helps them to, it would obviously
they
bring
just
out an,
melt.
yeah.
They get calm. Their emotions just regulate. He shares his calm,
And
and
then
they
you,
just lay on him.
and then you over time teach them how to help help him control his emotions. Is that what am I saying? I'm probably saying that wrong, aren't I?
Well, he doesn't. He is.
He
just
has
a
no
tool.
emotion. He's sitting over there with his head on his
He's like,
here.
come here.
Oh,
He
come
has
here.
emotions.
Oh, you do. You
Oh,
are like,
his emotions are love. His
he's the
emotions are
calmest
love.
thing. Look
He
at
is.
you.
So he
Yeah.
shares his calm.
Come here.
And you should see the kids chase him around, and they just get so excited following him around, and they lay on him, and they love on him, and they're just
What-
happy and calm.
So what else do they learn from him, though?
Social
Yeah.
skills.
Yeah.
So they read his body language. They learn to read his body language. They also, in session, I will use him as a therapeutic tool for learning to be assertive and finding their voice. And he's 103 pounds. And for a kid to control a 103-pound animal is a pretty special thing. So German Shepherds by their nature are a one-person dog, and so he will generally listen to me, but I have trained him to listen to the kids when they're assertive. But they have to really try.
Scoot up here. Somebody says it's kind of soft.
Sorry.
The sound is a little soft.
Sorry.
And sometimes it's just different people's things. And Anna Maria, you are in Canada, so
Gotcha.
she's in Canada. That's a long way for us to scream. So go ahead.
So I will use Caesar, and I will have the kids give him his commands. And they will run through trying to get him to heel, trying to get him to turn, trying to get him to sit and stay and do high fives and roll over and all of the commands that he does. And he will just not give them he won't pay any mind. He will not, if they are not assertive, if they are not using commanding voices, if they are not getting his attention and they will not. He will just completely. But then the moment they start to use an assertive tone, and assertive, not aggressive, but assertive, then he will start to respond, and then I will give him a nonverbal command, and then he'll look at them. And then they'll feel that power and empowerment and control and accomplishment and sense of achievement and all of those appropriate ways of creating neurotransmitters. And then I will use encouragement, not praise, because encouragement is where I tell them excitedly what they did up until the point where I would normally praise.
Why not praise?
Because praising you is telling you that you pleased me. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but you'd have to come back to me to feel those feelings of
And
accomplishment and
you want
pride.
him or her to directly understand they did that.
Right.
I want them to search inward
Yeah.
for those feelings again. So I want them to please themselves.
Wow.
So I'm going to indicate to them that they did
Yeah.
a good job, and then stop short. So they have to complete that action and tell themselves good job and put it on their own belief window. It's kind of like jingle. In our brains, as human beings, we have to complete the action. Like Sheldon on the Big Bang Theory, right?
Right.
He can't not complete. Only he's like
Little Asperger,
so like if I sing, and forgive me for my singing, like a good neighbor,
State Farm is there.
and you have to complete it.
Oh, yeah.
So we are starting a jingle for the kids when we use encouragement instead of praise.
Encouragement jingle.
You just made him listen to you. And then the kid tells themselves, wow, I just did a good job.
Yeah, look what I did.
Look
And
what I did.
instead of waiting for someone to say you're good, which is what we've created a whole culture waiting for culture to tell us we are
Right.
okay.
Right.
Tell
Instead,
yourself you're okay.
Right.
Understand that you're
I'm
okay.
really good at working with dogs.
Oh
That
my
will
God.
forever be on their belief window, and they only
Yeah.
have to search inwardly
Yeah,
for that.
to know that.
You guys
If I
see-
told them that they're really good at working with dogs because they
Then
did that,
right.
they would have to come back.
Yeah.
Am I still good at working with dogs?
Right.
Am I
Work
still?
that
Did you see me
onto
do
their
that? Am I
soul.
still good at working with dogs? See the difference?
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's simple, but it's a whole
I bet
twisting.
it's profound. Yeah. That's just one of the things
We
that
go like
we do
this.
here.
These are, those are brain screws, you know? It's like, so you guys, so we call this the Buck Stops Here, and Buck Sanitary Service is good enough to,
And
they're-
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you,
you,
Bucks.
Bucks.
And Scott and Lisa, they're not here because they understand the importance of us showing. So what's the point? The point is these two saw something, went out, and are now making changes. And we can all do that in our
Yeah.
lives. If you're
Yeah.
sitting at home and you have kids
Right.
that are driving you crazy, chances are it's not you're a bad parent. You just
Right.
don't understand how they're thinking. Because
Right.
I don't know any of this stuff. And I'm a professional. I've been in the news business for my whole life. I don't know this stuff. I could have done such a different job on my kids had I understood this stuff.
We all can.
Yeah, so here's a way for people to do stuff, and instead of waiting for somebody to do it, the buck stops here and they do it. And I am of the firm belief that all of us have this capability to do this kind of stuff. Not just this. I don't mean therapy and that kind of stuff, but I mean you see a problem
Right.
and you take care of
Yeah.
it rather than wait.
Exactly.
It's really what you're teaching.
Yeah.
Instead of waiting
Yeah.
for somebody to affirm that you're
Yeah.
good enough or
Yeah.
that you can do this, just get off your butt and go do it.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, I think there's too many of
Yeah.
us waiting around. I can see in my own life how I wait for affirmation to do stuff. And that's so boring. And it's so not, it doesn't make you feel like you
Yeah.
accomplish anything. There's something in your soul that has to feel like it's true to who you are. And
Yeah.
you're not telling them you're true to who you are. You're letting them see that they can be true to who they are.
They come to know it. And Julie and I, when we started this, I was working full time. I'm still working full time in private practice. She's got a full time job. Our volunteers all have jobs. I mean, anybody can
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah,
she
we did
has
not
a
wait
daughter.
till we
We've
had
all of our
everything in
volunteers
place.
have families.
So
We
then they
don't-
put on Facebook they needed a space, so they have this really cool space over off of River Road. And
Yeah.
again, so people
Shout out to Jennings. Thank you
Yeah,
so much,
right?
guys.
Jennings
You guys are
Property Management.
amazing.
Who was it? Jennings Property Management?
Jennings Property
Yeah,
They
Manager.
found the space for
Amazing.
them. So see, when you do start looking to the buck stopping here, it doesn't mean that means you need partners. You
Yep.
need people to work
Yes,
with you,
exactly.
and that means you have to have relationship
Yeah.
and actually use some of the same skills you're teaching the kids to
We
go
do.
in and do this, because we really can't change this. And the thing with these kids is, so if I learn that I am good at work, that I can help control this dog, and I don't mean that in a bad way because
Right.
I'm afraid people will, but if I can do that, then I can control my own emotions And then maybe, because one of the big problems with kids bullying one another is that they're looking for a sense of control. They're not necessarily trying to be mean,
Right.
but being mean to somebody gives them the control that makes those neurons fire.
Cortisol,
And so we need to have something else getting the cortisol to move.
Well, we want to replace the cortisol with the appropriate neurotransmitter. So that one act of being able to control him replaces that.
Right.
It's not even cortisol because of that connection. The connection that they have with the dog is a relational connection, not a superiority connection.
And that's what cortisol does, the superiority thing.
Superiority. So this is a relational connection. So they have the appropriate neurotransmitters that they're creating through learning a skill, interacting with the dog, with the positive love that they're feeling, a sense of accomplishment, accomplishing a goal, and the pride that they're feeling as a result, and then knowing that they had an adult see it and acknowledge it, and then they put it on their own belief window. All of those are neurotransmitters.
So win-win.
So those are created rather than
Cortisol,
which just gives you that rush for the minute because you had some power, and then you want more, and
then these
more.
are lasting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love what you guys are doing. It's heady stuff.
And that's just a small. I mean, that's just a small example.
So you guys, I wouldn't even say if you're having difficulty. I just think
it's for everyone.
if you're a human being and you want to understand
Pretty much.
yourself and people around you better, the
Yeah.
Elrod Center. Somebody already, Matt, I think Kendall already put up
thank
there.
you, Matt.
He already put the name on there. How to get a hold of them? Get a hold of them. But if you are having trouble with your, understanding your child, it may be you. It may not be the child, and maybe you just need to understand some stuff. And a little time with Caesar could help.
And we're having a yard sale actually on Sunday.
Yep.
So you can come by and actually look around too at the center and see what we have to offer. And then we're doing a Papa's Pizza fundraiser on Monday. So we have flyers for that as well. So.
Well, thanks, because Julie called. She texted me right after I did the first the Buck Stops Here. She goes, Rick, Elrod Center would be a great Buck Stops Here, and it is. Yeah. So this is good.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't touch it, did I? Did I touch that?
It's panning around.
Oh, I don't know. I think it's her. So if you guys, please, this is kind of corny and silly, but what we're looking for, that people that sponsor stuff like this, like Scott and Lisa over at Buck's Sanitary Service, they deserve our business. And that's kind of interesting when you're a porta potty company and a sanitation company. They deserve your business because, if you're at a place and there's a porta potty, you're going to use it. But I hope that every time you see the Bucks label or the name, or you walk into one of those, you're thinking, oh yeah, these are those people that help sponsor that show, because that's what they're here for.
And we would love to do a huge shout out to BJ's Restaurant, because they have been a huge sponsor for us for our fundraiser.
Okay,
so
cool.
we would love to just say that. So.
All right, guys. So take this, share it on your page, and don't just put it on, because you don't know who's going to look at your page and go, oh, wow. And if there's something you heard in here, like the dog, or I found a way that I can actually help my children, use that as your lead, post it on your page.
Personal statement.
Because you guys, this is the thing of the power of social media. You never know who's looking at your page and who's going to grab this stuff.
Exactly.
So you can help somebody and not even know it. All right. Thanks, you two.
Take action.
I learned something. Every time I come here, I learn something. I'm going to go have a little love time with Caesar.
Yes.